The scary stories that happened on Halloween aren't always fiction. Although the holiday is full of mysticism, the dangers that can occur are real. Many cases have been recorded when people died from mystical and mysterious events on this day, but in some cases the causes of death were quite understandable, but no less creepy. I have prepared 5 stories that you should like. Poisoned candy and apples. In 1970, a series of child deaths swept across America in different cities. The criminals decided to poison the kids with candy. Traditionally, during the celebration, children and adolescents go to neighboring houses and beg for treats in exchange for not doing pranks, throwing eggs, toilet paper, etc. at houses. But one Detroit boy was unlucky because the candy he got turned out to be poisonous. It contained cocaine and the boy, having eaten it, died of a drug overdose. The death of the girl in Santa Monica happened in the same way. She also participated in collecting sweets, and after eating sweets, the baby died of a heart attack. The doctors determined that the candy was the cause. Also died that year, Ferdinand Sickving, who died when he ate the candy presented for the holiday. The murders were never proven and the perpetrators were never found. The same kind of death happened to children in 1967. In Canada and New Jersey, 13 children have died from the apples they received on Halloween. Caramel treats are a very popular treat on this day, and the kids and their parents did not suspect anything wrong. The people who committed such atrocities were also not found. Cruel and greedy father. In 1974, on the eve of Halloween in Texas, there was a terrible murder. It was committed by a man named Ronald Clark O'Brien. He poisoned his own son Timothy Mark. The reason was banal greed and thirst for profit. For the holiday, the father treated the child to candy with potassium cyanide. He did this in order to get insurance, which he had previously issued for the baby. After Timothy died, his father would have received a large amount in order to cover debts and earn extra money. To carry out the crime and deflect suspicion from himself, the killer father planted the same candy in the bags of the rest of his children. The investigation found that the candies that were poisoned, they could only get from their father, since in other houses they were not given a certain brand of candy. The man was sentenced to death, but previously spent 9 years in prison. Realistic decoration. Home decorations in dark colors are typical for Halloween. This in a variety of skeletons, zombies, spiders, corpses and similar attributes. Everything is aimed at scaring people. In the state of Delaware, in the city of Frederick, a real corpse became the decoration of one of the houses. In 2005, a woman living in a house in the city committed suicide and hanged herself. People walked past the corpse for several hours and thought of it as a decoration. In the same way, 2 boys died in 1990. They decided to play a trick on friends and portrayed the hanged. 17-year-old Brian and his friend, 15-year-old William, did not calculate their actions and suffocated. The people around thought that the boys were just playing very realistically and showing suffocation. The worst fire in Swedish history. In 2011, Sweden suffered one of the worst fires in the country's history. During a Halloween party, a fire broke out at one of the discos. Due to the large crowd of people could not immediately leave the building, and as a result, about 250 people were injured. 60 teenagers died from suffocation and fire, the remaining 190 were hospitalized with respiratory injuries and severe burns. Brownstein journalist. In 2005, a grisly murder took place in the United States. It was made by a journalist of one of the leading glossy magazines. On the eve of All Saints' Day, he entered his colleague's house. The girl did not expect a catch and did not suspect the intentions of the criminal. The man was armed with a knife and took with him a drug syringe, rope and video camera. He euthanized and drugged the girl and brutally raped her for 13 hours and filmed everything that happened on camera. As it turned out, he planned to commit suicide in a non-standard way and hoped that the police officers who arrived at the crime scene would shoot him. The jury sentenced the man to 20 years in prison. Every year, police and media warn people that Halloween nights are dangerous. And not so much because of the fantastic evil spirits, but because of dangerous people who can disguise themselves and harm others. You have to be careful, because no one knows when misfortune may occur. Sometimes people get into unpleasant situations because of their costumes, jokes or practical jokes. But more often, on such a bright and eventful day, some people cannot stand their psyche and they can commit terrible offenses, the reasons for which they cannot explain later.